Now, students, part two of the concrete building, and I'm going to do the ground floor above the basement and the columns in this video here. But notice now that I have gone in and I've made some changes to the basement. I've kind of finished it off. I didn't actually realize that you had a basement plan there, and so I've had to make a couple of adjustments. Specifically that area there, look, specifically that area there. There's a little bit of a kink out there, and I've had to make that adjustment. Now, I might have told one of the students on Monday that, you know, I don't particularly like these little kink outs like that because they're very expensive for starters, you know. They cause all sorts of problems. But let's just say that's the way the architect wanted it, and that's, we're going to have this reflected back up on the first, second, third floor plans and so on like that. So we're going to have this little kink in here, which means we're going to have to do some special cladding panels and things like that for that as well, possibly. Okay, so now again, this is a little bit fluid. Remember, I'm doing it the way I think it should be done. You will have had discussions with my colleagues inside in TDS, and you might have done it a slightly different way. So really the purpose of my videos is not to direct you in terms of what way you're laying out the building as such, but to give you the techniques to be able to build it digitally. So that's really what this is about. So I've added in some doors in here. I've added in those plant and bicycle store areas and that type of stuff. Okay. And that is, I've got a little car park, standard car parking family that's available in your UK library. Okay, I've used a single one and I've just dropped it in where I felt is necessary. I have my opening here. I put in a little barrier there just for the fact that it's there as well. It's a family that's available to you in the UK, and there's a couple of arrows that is available to you in the parking folder of your UK family libraries. Okay, so I've added in block walls in here. Let's go into the 3D and just take a look. So that's how I'm looking at the moment. I've got my block walls in there. I've got my these are cast walls, right? These ones in around the cores, I'm casting all of those. And if I go into my ground floor plan here, and again, you can see that I've got an underlay in the ground floor plan of the basement slab there. All right. Here, I'm just going to move those two. Don't delete those. And there's a reason why. We're going to just shift them out of the way over here for the moment. Okay. Keep those, but don't delete them. Now, so you can see what that little kink is going to occur there. And so we need to take that into account. So I also had to adjust the ground floor plan. Sorry, not the ground floor plan as such, but the basement floor. Okay, I had to adjust the basement floor because if I brought that out, then I have to bring the basement floor out underneath it. I also have to bring out the slab thickening underneath that as well. Okay, so that is now rectified. Okay, I suspect. Don't do this now as yet, but I suspect that 300 is not sufficient in terms of the thickness of the walls there. And Pierce had mentioned in studio that the columns are going to be, you know, kind of 450, 500 square or rectangular. I'm going to use square columns because I prefer to use square columns because I know I'm going to have to fix a substructure of cladding rails onto the columns. And it's easier to do that with square columns than it is with round ones in this case. All right, so that's my reasoning behind that. Right. So we brought you up as far as here, and we've worked that out. By doing that little kink there, it just means I don't have to shift the positions of those lift car shafts. And for the moment, I've just put in a wall across there. I know on the basement plan there's glazing and whatever else. I'll come back to that and I'll fill that in. And there seems to be kind of false columns there as well. or I'm not quite sure exactly what those are. So we've got our car, our car parking spaces. Excuse me. And there are other rooms and everything else. So basement is pretty much set. Didn't have to make any changes in that core or that core, so that's their grand. So I'm happy to move on with that. Now, going out to my ground floor plan. All right, so I'm going to leave the underlay of the basement in place for the moment. Now, so I know that Pierce put up a sketch on Yammer. Here it is here. This is more or less the kind of ground floor. So I'm going to go on the basis of this one here. I'm going to use this floor. I'm going to do a 300 slab. I'm going to drop this 200 mil below the ground finish floor level. And I'm going to put in about 100 mil of high quality insulation in there as well. So first thing I've got to do is I've got to make the floor family. So I'm into architecture, into floor, architectural, and this is the one that I've made. Okay, so it's called ground floor over basement AT_FT number 2. So it's floor type number 2. I've got 300 cast in situ concrete, and I've got an insulation, and I'll just show you the how I've made that up. So it is it's a rigid insulation, or external wall insulation in this case. And you can see in the surface pattern, I've got a foreground color in here, but probably more important is the actual cut pattern here. So I've got a vertical 1.5 millimeter there, and I've got a solid fill with 255, 255, 200 yellow color. All right. So I'll leave that there for a second so you know that that's there. Right, so that's that. That's that. Now, putting in this floor is, I'm going to show you a little bit tricky. So there's a couple of things we need to do. I'm going to use the rectangle tool here. And this is the reason I've got the underlay in, is because I want to go to the inside of the basement wall, right? I'm going to put it full in to begin with, as far as there. Now, I'm going to finish it like that, even though, if you remember, we were 200 below the ground level, but I'm just going to finish it like that because it's going to ask me, would you like to attach the walls that go up to this floor, attach it to the bottom? Now, in most cases, I would always tell you to say no, but there's always an exception. So I'm going to say yes in this case, attach. And you can just, yeah, that's fine. We just go okay for that. Now, if I go back into the section, the advantage of it is that, see these internal walls, okay? They're all now attached to the bottom of the slab. So it saves me having to go around and do all of that. The disadvantage is this one here, is that the external walls now have attached themselves to that bottom there. So I would prefer the external walls to come up to the level. And if I pick it and I go and I right click and I say, select all instances in the entire project, I'm going to use that command there, detach from this floor, and you can see now it brings it back up. Because this is how this would be poured, right? You would have the floor, this floor would probably be cast in on top of this one, and you'd have starter bars and all that stuff coming in here. But what I don't want is my insulation coming across here either, because it's not, insulation is not structural, so the insulation starts there. But if you remember, it's kind of on the same principle here, that all of this will be a homogeneous piece of concrete, and as will that there. So I think that gets out of that kind of a situation pretty neatly. And I just go over and check that that has come up here as well. Now I'm going to pick this one. I'm going to say, come down -200. Okay, now there's my well for my computer floor. Let's go into the 3D. And now neatly as well, what we've got here is the columns penetrating through, which is perfect because that's how these would actually be poured. This little bit standing up here is called a kicker, and it helps the carpenters put their formwork up against and start it off correctly so that they go up with the next pour up of the concrete. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to our columns here now. And if you remember, I'll go back to my ground floor plan here. Columns can be a little bit tricky, particularly the first one going in. So here I am. I'm in my structure. I'm in my column. I'm using the 450 in situ. And in this case, I am going to, you can see here that it's going from the ground level, right? Okay, and this is what I never understand, is why these kind of things come up here. So I'm going to just accept that level there for the moment. And I'm going to position that, right? And it's going to tell me that I can't see it, which is fair enough. But there's the column there. So if I pick it now, right? Now I can go from up here to first floor level, and I'm going to go from ground finish floor level. All right. So I might have put 2 in there by an accident. Right, now I just put in a little bit of shading into this here. All right. Now that's what I mean. See the way that is oversailing, like so. And I'm not quite sure if it will be acceptable in terms of a structural solution. So this needs to be discussed in class. And if that's the case, we either use a smaller column or a wider wall. That's basically what's going to happen there. Okay. So we need to discuss that. Now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go select that one, go back into my ground floor plan, and I'm going to copy multiple at the intersection point, and I will pop all of those in. So bear with me a second here now. Okay. Yeah, so we pop these in along here. And they will go in across on areas like that, like that. Okay. Now I'm going to put columns in here, even though they're not actually shown. All right. I just can't see why they have been left out. I'm sure there's a structural reason, but for the moment I'm putting those in. And now we'll come across here. And again, see the way Revit likes our intersections here. Again, there isn't one there. Maybe there is one there because this is good. This is a poured core, so it's performing the duties as well of the column in terms of providing support here. And there's not one there, but I'm going to put one in there for the moment. There's not one there, but I'm putting one in here for the moment. And again, this is, I'm going to remind you again, this is me deciding that I wanted columns here. I'm just not sure why they were left out, because if you leave them out, then you have to make up something that'll act in their place in terms of a structure. Okay, and I'm going to put one in here as well. And I've got one in the corner. Oh, sorry. I can take those out because remember I said that the core walls were going to work as columns in those positions. Now, let's go into our 3D. So you can see there's my columns there. And oh, I never brought the floor in across this one here. So I need to edit the boundary here. Okay, so that floor needs to come in here, and I'm going to draw in some line work. So, yeah, we'll go from the outside there and to there, and then I'm going to use the little split command to split that line, and the trim command to trim this one to this one, and then trim that one to that one, and finish. Now, there's my again, I'm going to say attach. Okay. Right. Now, so back to my 3D. There is my there's my columns in place now. So because I'm kind of happy with what's going on in both of those external cores there, I'm going to go back in here then. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to select all those walls, right? That one, that one, that one. Okay, now watch I'm going to go up to, so I'm in the modify and I'm coming over here. We're going to copy these, right? So here's the copy command. So copy to clipboard. And I'll go back to my ground floor plan now. I'm going to come back over here. And I'm now going to say paste to the selected levels is kind of the easier one to do. So it will be the ground finish floor. Let's see how that works out. Now, so they have been pasted back up there. Let's go into the 3D. Okay, so they're there. Now, I might need to close that off, and I might need to close that off. And close that off in around there. And again, so what I'm thinking about here is if I close those off, right, I'm thinking about the cladding that needs to be done. So that's fine. I think that's okay. So I'm going to create similar wall center line. Now I don't need I put in a minus figure there because these are walls that are going up. Okay. Top offset is 0 as well. Apply, and bottom offset is 0. Apply. Okay, so because I'm using foundation walls, this is why it's giving me this problem. So I'm going to have to do the same thing again. Go from first finish floor level, maybe down to ground floor. Let's see if that works. No. Okay, so first finish floor level. And the minus figure will be, I'm not sure if it's 4 meters or not, but we're about to find out. So that one will come up all the way up as far as the intersection and as far as there. Okay, something like that. And actually it needs to come around the corner as far as this one. Right, let's check the 3D and see what we got. Okay, so they're obviously way too big. So I need to bring those down to match those. Like so. This is, you can see this is a little bit awkward the way I'm going about this. So that one looks correct. So it's -4, top offset minus 1200. Right. What was that one? It was -1250. So -1250. Now I might actually even go and change the function of this wall so that it's not a foundation wall, that it's an above ground wall, which would help things along. So leave that with me. I'll come back to you. So I've closed that one off. Now I'm going to repeat that process for the core in here, and I've got some extra walls that I need to put in. And you can see we've got the floor entrance there, and I've got those walls there, and we can lift those up as well. So that's the principle of that. And when I come back for part 3, I will show you that I'll have brought all of those walls up, and we'll start maybe moving up the building as well from there.